how would one measure resilience? Is it can it be quantified?
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get into this in various forms, but I think we're still figuring out the best ways to quantify it. But to start with some of the metrics that you're all familiar with, HRV, VO2 max, are measures of resilience. So if you look at what heart rate variability actually is, it's the dynamic adaptivity of the heart itself. So how well does the heart adapt to different situations? How quickly does the heart rate change in response to new stimuli? So that's directly a resilience measurement, right? Additionally, there are already some resilience measurements in clinical medicine. One of them is that many of you may be familiar with is the oral glucose tolerance test. So when a doctor wants to test a patient for diabetes, they give them a big slug of glucose and then see how the glucose level in the bloodstream rises. This is a measure of resilience. So there's a challenge involved, and then we look at the biological response. A stress test, which is I see as one of the things you're offering your community, which is great. That's another example of testing resilience. You have someone run on a treadmill while you monitor their EKG. And so that dynamic push followed by monitoring is typically how we will measure resilience. And I think there are new measurements, and particular measurements are still being refined.
Got it. And for people in the audience, HRV is a term that some of you have heard about. We have done a video on it, but in very simple terms, there are two competing systems in your body. Your sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight or flight response. There's a parasympathetic, which is sort of the rest and digest. And if a lion, like Taylor said, is chasing you, your sympathetic nervous system goes very high to deal with the stress of being chased by a lion. It gives you extra powers. Your glucose goes up and cortisol shoots up, and you get this superhuman-like strength for a few seconds or minutes. But because of that, your body is under massive amounts of stress. The parasympathetic nervous system is what's trying to pull it back down to normal levels. And both of these are happening in parallel. And to Taylor's point, that ability of the body to balance between the two, how quickly the parasympathetic can bring your stress levels down, is a sign of how resilient your body is. And our bodies become resilient through a series of practices that we'll talk about, but it's something to work on so that we make our bodies more and more resilient in this manner.